Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into George Orwell's 1945 classic Animal Farm. Now, most of us probably know it as a story about talking farm animals, but, it is so much more than that. It's actually a forensic breakdown of how democracies die and how power completely corrupts. Orwell put together this brilliant political allegory that perfectly mirrors the Russian Revolution of 1917. But as we'll see, these lessons, they apply to literally any society where authority goes unchecked.
Okay, let's dive into this. We're going to map out our structured journey today, tracing the exact sequence of events from a utopian dream to a total totalitarian nightmare. We'll cover the dream of freedom, cracks in the utopia, the machinery of control, the tragedy of loyalty, and finally, a timeless warning.
Part 1. The Dream of Freedom. So, let's set the stage at Mr. Jones's Manor Farm. The baseline here is human oppression. We're talking extreme hunger, neglect, and overwork. Now, to really understand how this miserable, desperate existence sparked a revolution, we first need to look at these characters as universal political archetypes. Old Major is the visionary who inspires the whole thing, kind of like a Marx or Lenin figure. Then you've got Napoleon, the ruthless dictator, your Stalin counterpart. Snowball is the intelligent leader who ultimately gets erased, much like Trotsky. Squealer, he's the ultimate manipulator and propagandist, and Boxer the horse represents the hardworking, eventually betrayed, working class. Setting up these parallels right from the jump lets us see the real-world historical parallels play out right there in the barnyard.
The spark is lit by Old Major, who introduces this philosophy of animalism. He points out a simple, undeniable truth to the animals. Humans produce absolutely nothing, but they exploit the animals. Meanwhile, the animals create literally all the wealth and get basically nothing in return. His whole vision is built on the radical belief that all animals are equal. He even teaches them this revolutionary song of hope, Beasts of England. And a few days later, when Mr. Jones just completely forgets to feed them, this philosophy fuels a spontaneous revolt. They chase Jones away, rename the place Animal Farm, and establish their 7 commandments of absolute equality.
Moving right along to Part 2, Cracks in the Utopia.
The early days of the newly named Animal Farm seem, absolutely perfect. The harvest is a huge success, everyone's working together enthusiastically, and it feels like a true utopia. But underneath the surface, the very first subtle, almost invisible warning signs of corruption are already popping up. It starts incredibly small. The pigs secretly keep the farm's milk for themselves, and when the others find out, the pigs don't apologize. Nope. Instead, they claim the milk is quote-unquote necessary for their brain work. This is the very first abuse of power. It's that exact moment the leaders prioritize themselves and justify it through the guise of necessity for the greater good.
This is the classic boiled frog scenario. Notice how slowly and quietly the rights of the animals are stripped away. On day 1, the pigs hoard the milk. By month 3, Napoleon secretly takes newborn puppies away for education. Fast forward to year 1, and he uses those now-grown dogs to violently expel his political rival, Snowball. By year 2, the regime is carrying out horrifying mass executions. Dictators often start just by controlling resources and indoctrinating the youth, slowly turning up the heat until it's way too late for anyone to fight back.
Which brings us to a crucial question right before the climax of the story. So how exactly does a democracy die? How is an idealistic, deeply moral movement completely dismantled from the inside out?
Part 3. The Machinery of Control.
The absolute turning point of this entire explainer is Napoleon's violent coup. Right in the middle of a debate over building a windmill, Napoleon unleashes those fully grown dogs to attack Snowball and expel him from the farm forever. In that single chaotic moment, the farm abruptly shifts from a fledgling democracy straight into an absolute dictatorship. Napoleon operates using a precise, calculated playbook for seizing absolute power. Step 1, he completely ends democratic meetings. Step 2, he consolidates all decision-making to himself. Step 3, he blames his exiled rival, Snowball, for every single failure or hardship on the farm. And Step 4, he uses terror. He has his secret police, the dogs, force false confessions from animals before brutally executing them. It shows us that democracies do not die all at once. They're dismantled step by calculated step.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is Squealer's propaganda machine in action. The pigs decide to move into the farmhouse and sleep in human beds. But the original commandment clearly stated, no animals shall sleep in a bed.
So, under the cover of night, the commandment is quietly revised on the barn wall to say, "No animal shall sleep in a bed with sheets." Because the other animals can't read well and kind of doubt their own memories, Squealer easily convinces everyone that the rule was always this way. This is exactly how leaders rewrite history when the public loses its memory.
And then we see a chilling escalation of this rewritten history following those horrifying mass executions. The most foundational, sacred rule of Animal Farm was, no animal shall kill another animal. But suddenly the wall reads, no animal shall kill another animal without cause. The animals are absolutely shocked by the violence they've witnessed, but they're just too frightened and uneducated to resist this obvious, blatant manipulation of the truth.
The ultimate hypocrisy arrives when the pigs start drinking. No animal shall drink alcohol suddenly becomes no animal shall drink alcohol to excess. Napoleon elevates himself to this godlike figure, trading with humans, which, by the way, is a direct violation of Old Major's core principles. The pigs are living in absolute luxury, funded by the windmill, while the rest of the animals work harder than ever and slowly starve.
Part 4. The Tragedy of Loyalty. As we move into the falling action, we have to talk about the devastating fate of Boxer the cart horse. Boxer is literally the heartbeat of the farm. He represents the ordinary working class, those whose incredible dedication and physical labor are blindly given to the state, hoping for a better future. Boxer responds to every setback, every food shortage, every confusing rule change with two steadfast mottos: Napoleon is always right, and I will work harder. It's a heartbreaking dedication. He works himself to the bone to build that windmill, ignoring his own sheer physical exhaustion until he finally just collapses, his lungs completely failing him under the strain.
Napoleon promises to send Boxer to a human hospital for the best medical treatment, but instead, and this is one of literature's greatest emotional gut punches, Boxer is secretly sold to the horse slaughterer. Why? So the pigs can take the cash and buy themselves more whiskey. It absolutely cements the regime's total moral collapse. Squealer lies to the animals, claiming Boxer died peacefully in the hospital, praising Napoleon, and the tragic part is, the animals actually believe him. It proves that in a totalitarian regime, loyal citizens are brutally discarded the exact moment they lose their utility.
Finally, Part 5, a timeless warning.
We jump forward in time. Years pass. Most of the original revolutionaries are dead, and the remaining animals don't even really remember the rebellion clearly. The ruling pigs now wear human clothes, they carry whips in their trotters, and they walk upright on two legs. The original dream is entirely dead, and this brilliantly illustrates the ultimate form of political doublethink. The 7 commandments are erased completely from the barn wall, replaced by a single, paradoxical law. All animals are equal, but some animals are more equal than others. It is a perfect encapsulation of a corrupted society, using contradictory, nonsensical language to completely justify inequality and endless oppression.
Orwell's central messages here are absolutely stark. Unchecked power completely corrupts morality. Propaganda and selective memory manipulate reality until objective truth doesn't even exist. Ignorance and a lack of education allow populations to be easily controlled, and finally, even the most noble idealistic goals can be easily hijacked by bad actors. Now, while Orwell was specifically writing about the Soviet Union, this is actually a timeless blueprint of how unchecked authority operates anywhere in the world, regardless of political ideology.
The story culminates with a chilling final image. The exhausted, starving animals look through the farmhouse window. They see the pigs dining and playing cards with the human farmers. They look from pig to man, and from man to pig, and they can no longer distinguish between them. The oppressors haven't been defeated. They've simply changed faces. The revolution has come entirely full circle.
Which leaves us with a critical, urgent question to ask ourselves today. What happens to a society when ordinary people stop demanding accountability from their leaders? George Orwell's masterpiece reminds us that freedom isn't a permanent state. It's something that must be actively protected against those who seek to rewrite the rules. Thank you for joining me on this explainer, and keep asking questions.